has special education that is among the best in the state. I've seen budget figures that show we spend a fairly significant percentage of our education budget in District 861 on special education. One of the problems you face with this always is how do you balance the limited resources against the great needs. And I think the way we can approach this going forward is to look for the best practices, look for the best ways to do this. And if that means making changes, making those changes that where old practices aren't serving us as well as the new practices could. We need to move forward, we need to recognize the limitations, and we need to do the best for the children. Thank you.
Candidate Denzer.
Inclusive programming includes more than just giving them opportunities. It also includes having students be visible within their peers in the buildings that they're in, having other students understand and know what is happening to them, educating our staff, being able to support and highly train our staff to be able to address the needs of all the students. Relationships to me is the most important thing that we can do for our students, and I've been working with special education for years. And those students that receive relationships from other members in the building enjoy rich opportunities that they may not otherwise have.
Candidate Schul.
I have a few ideas. This is at the front and center of my campaign. The Supreme Court case from 2017, Andrew F. versus Douglas County School in Colorado, basically resulted in a statement from the court that said that there's to be a higher standard of education for exceptional learners. Reading in between the lines, that will empower parents, and this will eventually mean that schools will need to provide more inclusion in general education classrooms for exceptional learners. Let's be ahead of the curve on that. So I would want to prepare general education teachers to include exceptional learners in the classroom. I'd like to create a task force designed specifically to decide what's the best means to prepare our general education teachers in this area. And second of all, I want to empower teachers. I want them to have autonomy and power on an IEP team so that it is a real team rather than a situation where an administrator might usurp that power for the sake of efficiency and convenience. Thank you.
Candidate Larkey.
Well, I stated in my opening statement that we have some of the best special education in the state. However, you can't be complacent, and you can always be better. There's three areas that I would focus on, and that would be giving our special education students the same opportunity in the classroom as other students, ensuring that our special education students have easy accessibility to all facilities and equipment. We've done a very good job of making our playground accessible to our special education students. However, I think we can do an even better job, and I would challenge us to do just that. And then also ensuring our special education students have the opportunity to have the same classroom experience as their peers, and to go along with Ms. Denzer's point, to build that friendship, to build that bond between our students. Thank you.
Next question. Safe schools is a concerning topic in the ongoing threats of violence across our nation. What are your top 3 priorities for keeping our schools safe? The first candidate to respond will be Candidate Larkey.
Well, that's a big issue. It's like I had said, it's every parent's nightmare. We'd like to think it will never happen here, but I'm willing to bet that everywhere a situation like that has happened, they also said that will never happen here. My first priority is making sure that our schools are secure. If that means that we put in a buzzer system and somebody has to wait on the outside of the school for 2 or 3 minutes, so be it. I'd rather have that and have my student or our students and my children safe in the schools. I know the task force has identified this as a top priority, and we have a plan to secure our vestibules, but that is number one, is keeping our students safe. They shouldn't have to go to school wondering, is something going to happen today? They should go to school to be educated and to grow as young people. Thank you.
Candidate Schul.
First of all, I've spoken to law enforcement about this issue. In fact, I did so this morning for an hour and a half, and I want to maintain a close tie with them. I think our district should make sure that we maintain a close tie with them, and they are a dear resource to us. We've taken some positive steps, the Raptor system, investment of vestibules in the upcoming referendum, and I appreciate these. But we need to be consistent and persistent with securing our schools. And then finally, the task force should report to the board at least twice a year on the status of school security. This shouldn't be something that relies on innuendo and rumor. This team will inform the public and as a result hold the district accountable to ensure that our district is taking school security seriously. Thank you.
Candidate Sonneman.
I think that safe schools can be addressed quite directly through the experiences and knowledge we have in any variety of public buildings to start. We need to control access. It's a reality. We can't have our schools open for any moment to walk in anymore. And how we control that access is going to vary by the schools in some cases, but it needs to be done. The second thing is we want to have security officers in the schools. This is typically done by having a police liaison in the schools on a regular basis. Sometimes this is seen as too strong a presence of police, but what I'm going to urge from the experience of dealing with it is that it helps the students understand the humanity of the police officers, and it also means police may be present when they are needed, and that's important. The third I'd urge is that safe schools matters is more than just an outside force or presence coming in. We need discipline in the schools. Thank you.
Candidate Hazelton.
I wholeheartedly support school security. 861 has done some really good steps in the past, such as the Raptor system that Mr. Schul alluded to. Also, during school hours, for example, at WK, where my daughter goes to school, as soon as the school bell rings and the kids are in the building is locked down with the exception of the front entrance on Mankato Avenue. The schools are not wide open for anybody to walk in, so I will refute that misnomer there. However, we can do better. I would support putting in a security door buzzer system with cameras. Also, securing the entry point of any building is key to controlling who's in and out. So I would continue to support this.
Candidate Schill.
It's a terrible thing for students and staff to think that part of their, that part of their reality is that something like that could happen in a school district. It's a terrible dilemma for people trying to do public policy about schools when you have the expense, when there's a competition between expense of something like keeping the schools safe and doing the educational thing. It's money that needs to be spent. It can be best spent if you've got a right-sized fleet of buildings. That is not going to mean that will mean that you won't be putting safety features in buildings that can't be justified on the basis of enrollment. I would leave the particulars to the experts, but as I pointed out earlier, one of the things that the citizens said in a survey and other feedback was they valued security, and that's one of the reasons why that's one of those top 3 priorities for the upcoming referendum.
Candidate Denzer.
A buzzer system is a really effective method of controlling who accesses a building, followed with the Raptor system and cameras, appropriate camera placement. When a buzzer system is operating at its best, the community with some specific training does understand that it may take a minute or two for someone to get to them or to open the door for them. But when the security and safety of our children is at stake, I think the community, and having worked with this for a number of years now, the community is well aware and supportive of doing this. And they're not, they're not mad about people taking a little bit of time to let them in, because they may be checking a background, or they may be checking something else. The Raptor system is really good, but training for students and staff is equally important. When staff understand that if they see someone in the building that doesn't belong in the building, it's important to ask them a question. And students need to understand that they don't open the door for somebody that's sitting right there.
Candidate Sims.
Access control improvements are, of course, a needed first step, and I'm glad that the school board has taken action to put that forward in the referendum. But we also need to make sure that we're addressing this promptly. So it's not just a referendum, but taking the community concerns that come in, and there have been many at board meetings, and not just paying lip service to it, but actually going forward with it. So I'm very pleased to see that going forward. But it also continues with communication, and that's partly training and it's partly communication with the outside community as well. We have to make sure that the parents of students understand what's going on, students understand what's going on, what teachers understand what's going on, but also other members of the community. Schools are an integral part of any location, any city, and that starts with making sure that the city police services, city emergency response services are on board and understand, and that the parents know that when something, God forbid, does happen, that everybody will be aware, brought up to date quickly, and that there is a process going forward.
Next question. If you are elected to the school board, how should District 861 go about developing a long-range plan? And we're going to start with candidate Sims.
Long-range planning is something that I've repeatedly talked about here, and it's something that I provide a pretty good experience on. I understand planning. It's what I do for a living. And I think that that's not